This episode is brought to you by Peacock. The new Peacock original documentary, Matthew Perry, A Hollywood Tragedy, dives deep into the beloved actor's rise to fame and his tragic death. 5 people, including Perry's personal assistant, 2 medical doctors, and an alleged Hollywood drug dealer known as the Ketamine Queen, were charged with conspiracy to illegally provide Perry with the ketamine. Explore the details of the case in this heartbreaking special, streaming now only on Peacock.
Today on CityCast Philly, it's the Friday News Roundup. We're talking about new data on Kensington since last year's cleanup effort. PA lawmakers speak out against UPenn's DEI decisions, and how y'all felt about our bike stories this week. It's Friday, February 28th. I'm Trenae Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about. Joining me today is CityCast Philly executive producer Matt Katz. Hey, Matt.
Hey, Trenae.
I know you're feeling a little under the weather, so
yes,
please forgive his hoarseness if it comes out.
Thank you. And I'm not joining you there at the Fiddler Club today because don't want to get you guys sick. Because
we don't want your germs.
We're responsible here at CityCast.
And that is CityCast Philly producer Abby Fritz. Hey, Abby.
Happy Friday, Trenae.
Happy Friday. Okay, we've got a lot to cover in this episode. Lots of news happening around town. Let's start with the latest in Kensington. Remember Mayor Cherelle Parker's plan to clean up this neighborhood, right? Because this is a lot of open-air drug activity and crime has happened for years now. But it's been an initiative that Mayor Parker really has set as a priority in her administration. So they just released a new online dashboard of information regarding the latest data on crime, public safety, quality of life issues, health and wellness, demographics in the 19134 zip code. Okay, so here are some of the stats that came out. And these stats are from over the last 9 months since the city cleared out those encampments along Kensington Avenue back in May of 2024. Police staffing has increased 195%.
Oh, that's probably because they were using police recruits where the brand new police officers were going to Kensington. That's clearly evidence of that.
Yes. There's been a reduction in shootings, a 57% reduction. This also stood out to me. Police seized 24,000 grams of fentanyl, that dangerous drug. And they also say that they recovered 330 firearms and over $40 million worth of drugs.
That does seem like a ton of drugs and fentanyl. Mm-hmm. And then you wonder just how much Kensington is awash in on a daily basis if that's just what the police seized. It's really mind-boggling.
Also, I know we heard that there was like 195% increase in the staffing and 57% reduction in shootings. But like in terms of the drugs specifically, I wonder how different that is from past years. Like, Is it normal to seize this much? Are they seizing more? Because obviously there's a increase in police presence. You know, all those questions kind of come to mind for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions. And if you want more info on all of this data, you can check out philly-state-360.phila.gov. We'll definitely have that link in the show notes. I also read in Axios Philadelphia this week that there's some initiatives that officials are expanding, like the use of drones to quickly respond to 911 calls. And they want to do so within like 30 seconds to 2 minutes. They want to have eyes on a scene where there's like activity. They've been piloting this drone program since October, so they're looking to expand. They're also going to expand the neighborhood wellness court, and we've talked about that on the show before. And that's where people with addiction who get arrested for low-level offenses, they have an option to get treatment instead of facing criminal charges. Then there's going to be an expansion of services like drug withdrawal treatment and medical screenings through the Kensington Wellness Support Center. They're going to be open 24/7.
I'm really going to keep an eye, so to speak, on this drone issue. In New York, the NYPD now uses drones for so much. They use them to find lost kids, search for suspects, look for sharks off the beach, monitor protests. They started this just like in Philly as a pilot program, but it's really expanded dramatically. They launched the drones from the rooftops of precincts, and they send them out on 911 calls. And that seems like what Philly's now starting to do. And I should say there are worries from civil liberties advocates about this, right? Because there's not necessarily a lot of safeguards in terms of like what happens to this video that they collect? Where does this data go? Who are they monitoring and then putting through facial recognition software? I think it might be an important area for city council to take a look at. I'd be really curious to see if they could hold hearings, bring the police in to find out like what the extent of this program is, what their plans are for use of drones, if they are going to use them in other neighborhoods for other reasons, and then how much all this costs and what if they have any safeguards and rules and regulations regarding the use of the data.
For sure. Those are good questions. We've got more news after the break.
Empower. Claire is practicing her breathing for her upcoming yoga retreat in Bali. Has she ever done yoga before? No. But Claire worked with Empower on her savings and investment strategy. She got good at money, so she can be a little bad. Empower. Invest well, live a little. Join our 19 million customers today at empower.com.
Past performance is not indicative of future returns. Investing involves risk. You may lose money. Advisory services are provided for a fee by Empower Advisor Group, LLC, EAG, a registered investment advisor with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Om Namaste.
TaxAct knows small business owners can sometimes use a little help with their taxes. That's why TaxAct has Expert Assist, a team of live tax experts ready to answer any questions you may have. Think of them as your own personal sidekick. Not like one of those funny talking animal sidekicks, more like the super smart nerding out on tax code and business casual attire sidekick, but just as helpful and lovable. TaxAct. Let's get them over with.
All right, let's get into some more news topics. Abby, what you got?
Yeah, there's some more news coming out of the Trump camp in Philly this week. Last week on Friday, we did kind of a deep dive on how the universities in Philly are reacting to President Trump's orders on eliminating diversity, equity, and inclusion in their mission and how they run their universities, or risk losing their federal funding. So we've seen some more news kind of come out of this whole issue. We talked about the University of Pennsylvania specifically and how they've changed their messaging across their website. And they also have publicly said that they're adjusting to these new orders from Trump. I was reading an article on the Daily Pennsylvanian this week, which is Penn's student paper, about how a handful of lawmakers met with the interim president, Larry Jameson, and Provost John Jackson Jr., and some other administrators about this rollback. And in short, I don't think it went very well from everything I've read. A ton of officials were there, state senators, a city council member, some state reps. And according to this article by the Daily Pennsylvanian, multiple of these officials were shocked by the language that the school officials were using during the meeting. One that really stood out, and I think a couple news organizations across the city really picked up on, was that they referred to diversity as a quote-unquote lightning rod.
What does that mean?
It means that Trump doesn't like it and it causes them controversy, right?
Yeah, it seems to have some sort of negative connotation is how the officials took it. And it was even, I think, reported by WHYY that some walked out after this particular comment and made comments to media about how they felt about this meeting. One particular person, Councilmember Jamie Gauthier, specifically pointed to the fact that earlier this month, the University of Pennsylvania did sue the National Institutes of Health for capping funding. And she was trying to make the point that, look, they're willing to fight the Trump administration on other issues, but this particular one about DEI, they're not interested in fighting, it seems like. They're willing to comply. So she's not convinced that they're doing everything as they say. The school administration did write to the Daily Pennsylvanian that, quote, "We appreciate the concerns expressed by local elected officials. The University of Pennsylvania is committed to non-discrimination in all of our operations and policies." And that was their kind of statement about this whole ordeal that has come out of this meeting.
State Senator Art Haywood came out of the meeting and he told WHYY, he said it was, quote, just bullshit. That was the only thing he said. Bullshit.
I think it's also interesting to note, too, that Trump did graduate from Penn as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, Penn is definitely more in the crosshairs of this administration more than any other university around here, both because of the encampments last year, the fact that the university president left amid all of this controversy, and that Trump is an alum. Yeah. So I wonder if that's part of the calculation here, too.
In other news in the state, Governor Shapiro announced that federal funding that was frozen by the Trump administration is now back. So on Monday, the governor said that $2 billion that had been cut off is now available to Pennsylvania again. So you might remember we talked about this a couple weeks ago. The governor filed a lawsuit against multiple federal agencies for freezing funds. And these suits are still pending. And the governor even said he wants to follow through with them so that there can be some sort of like binding decision to protect this funding in case anyone tried to cut it or freeze it again in the future. Also, Shapiro did visit the White House last week.
Right, because he just got appointed by Trump to serve on the Council of Governors.
Yes. So he's been, it sounds like, at the White House, and also he spoke with some people in the Trump administration. He said high up in the Trump administration. So it seems like they've been doing a couple things to kind of get this issue resolved for Pennsylvania. We'll see how this kind of relationship with the Trump administration continues to evolve. Also, the programs that had been impacted, like some programs that would build out clean water infrastructure or help low-income households lower their utility bills, and like plugging abandoned oil and gas wells, are going to be funded. Those were the ones that had been impacted by the freeze, but they're now back on. So it seems like, at least in regard to that particular funding, they've gotten a solution on it so far without even having to go all the way through the courts. And while we're talking about the White House, we didn't know if this would happen, but apparently Trump is going to invite Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles, to the White House.
Well, he says he will. He has not yet.
Yes, he said he's going to. This is kind of a surprise. There's been a lot of talk about this on the internet for a couple of reasons. First, because they didn't visit after their last win, which really upset President Trump.
And we have to also mention, like, this is a tradition, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. This is not like out of nowhere or anything. This is something that Super Bowl champs do generally. So they did not visit Trump after they won last time. And also President Trump was openly rooting for the Chiefs at the Super Bowl. Then, then there was discourse online that the Eagles may not come if they were invited again. But that was kind of put to rest this week when a couple of different places reported that Eagles sources were saying they would go. And Trump essentially has said that his invite is in the mail. So we'll see what happens when the invite comes.
It would be interesting if at least some of the players said we're not going to go until the maybe hundreds, maybe thousands of federal workers that Trump laid off who live in Philadelphia are put back to work, like at the IRS and the EPA. Read a lot of stories this week about the hardships that those workers who were suddenly fired, National Park Service, the hardships that they're experiencing. So it would be interesting if not the whole team, if some players in the team took a stance related to how the Trump administration is adversely affecting so many Philadelphians.
I think also the unspoken thing, too, is these players came, from universities that now the threat of federal funding is being taken away. That then impacts athletics. A lot of Black and brown kids participate at these universities. And so it kind of all trickles down.
Yeah. There's definitely room where I could see Eagles players, a couple, all of them, who knows, like take a moral stance on this or have some political opinions on this that could impact this visit. But I don't know. We'll see.
We've got more news after the break.
Now at Verizon Business, every business can get the new Samsung Galaxy S25 Plus. Whether you're a new customer, loyal customer, or returning customer, this one's for you, and you on America's most reliable 5G network. Get the new Galaxy S25 Plus on us, powered by Verizon Business. 256 gigabyte on us. New device payment purchase agreement, select trade-in, and business unlimited plan required. Credit varies by smartphone trade-in. Applied to account over agreement term up to 36 months. Terms apply. Limited time offer.
Support comes from ServiceNow. We're for people doing the creative work they actually want to do. That's why this ad was written and read by a real person and not AI. You know what people don't want to do? Boring, busy work. Now with AI agents built into the ServiceNow platform, you can automate millions of repetitive tasks in every corner of your business, IT, HR, and more, so your people can focus on the work that they want to do. That's putting AI agents to work for people. It's your turn. Visit servicenow.com.
Yo, what is going on with these sinkholes? Did y'all see the one that swallowed a Chevy Traverse in Port Richmond this week?
Crazy.
Oh my God. If I didn't have enough to worry about with cars, now I have to worry about sinkholes too.
It's so wild that the ground could just suddenly collapse without warning.
Now, this is not the first time we've seen sinkholes, like even in the last 2 years, 3 years maybe.
I watched this interview that Steve Keeley did with one of the owners of the cars, and this guy is chill as hell about the fact that his car is literally stuck in a sinkhole. He doesn't know how he's going to get it out.
Well, he's like, I've got other problems.
Can I just play what he said?
Yeah.
Steve, I've been a police officer for 32 years. It's part of the the deal of living in Philly. No big deal.
What about the neighbor with the Toyota?
He's on vacation in Florida.
And he doesn't even know about it, or did somebody tell him?
Kinda, sorta.
All right.
Could you imagine being on vacation in Florida and then you come home and your car is impacted by a damn sinkhole?
Oh my God. And this guy's a cop for 32 years. He's like, I've seen some shit. This is
right.
nothing.
This is nothing. Speaking of shock, right? I was pretty shocked to see some of the feedback we got from an episode we aired on Monday and Tuesday of this week. And it was all around this conversation, contentious issue of bike lanes in the city, specifically in Center City.
Yeah. I mean, Trenae, our inbox, social media, it does seem like this new law banning parking in bike lanes is striking a chord, unlike just about any other issue in the city right now. So to recap, we had a show on Monday where, Trenae, you interviewed the Bicycle Coalition, which argues that this new law banning cars from stopping even for a minute in bike lanes will save lives, particularly on the city's busiest bike lanes on Pine and Spruce Streets in Center City, because bikers will no longer have to go into traffic to avoid the cars and trucks that are often parked there. And then on Tuesday, Trenae, you spoke to the Center City Residents Association, which had a different view. They said people who live on Pine and Spruce need to be able to access their homes, particularly the elderly and young families, and should be able to park in the bike lanes for as long as 10 minutes. So that's the sort of the two sides of this debate here. So can I read some of these comments?
Let's hear it.
Oh, yeah.
Several people just went after bikers in general, saying that too many of them don't follow the laws and that bikers themselves just need to be better policed. Young Shalai on Instagram said, there is daily evidence of consistent illegal behaviors such as ignoring traffic lights, stop signs, riding in between lanes of traffic on sidewalks, and disregarding pedestrian crossings. Traveling at high rates of speed puts pedestrians, other bikers, and drivers at a huge risk for injury and death as well. A guy named Tony said there needs to be enforcement of bikers, quote, polluting our sidewalks. We heard from a 65-year-old woman who lives on Spruce who said she is regularly pushed down or nearly hit by bikers while walking to the supermarket. And so it does seem to me that there are, a few bad actors when it comes to bikers, and that does put a stain on the rest of the biking community. And I also suspect that e-bikes, which go much faster, which use the bike lanes, which zoom through intersections often, are also part of the reason why regular cyclists are getting criticized here. And these are guys generally just delivering our DoorDash because we got to get that Chipotle in 20 minutes, But that does seem to be an issue that they're using the bike lanes and causing some of these hazards. We did hear also, on the other hand, a lot of support for the new law on YouTube. And yes, you can get audio of our show on YouTube. DPG227 wrote, the no stopping in bike lanes law was passed because drivers were using the bike lanes for their own convenience. at the expense of the safety of bike riders, a more vulnerable class of users. Drivers use the lanes to load and unload passengers and packages, but also just to sit in their cars and wait or look at something. There does seem to be something of a class issue here too. Someone went after lazy rich people on Pine and Spruce who want their own convenience over other people's safety. Obviously, not everyone on Pine and Spruce is rich, but there was some resentment that seemed to seep through at those who live in those big, beautiful houses on Pine and Spruce. And we got a really interesting email from Michael McGettigan, who owns Trophy Bikes in Center City, lifelong Philadelphian, business member of the Center City Residents Association, which again is against the new no stopping in bike lanes law. And Michael said that cars were getting heavier and taller and faster and are therefore just in general more lethal to cyclists. So he says Philly needs protected bike lanes. So barriers, like concrete barriers in between bike lanes and car lanes. And that really seems to be what a lot of this is about. You know, the PPA is soon going to begin enforcing the no stopping in bike lanes law. You're going to get a $125 ticket if you do it on Pine and Spruce. And it does seem like that law is here to stay. There's not any political support from city council to alter this thing that they just overwhelmingly passed. So I think a lot of the discourse that we heard from our shows this week, guys, is really about the next fight, which is over physical barriers to protect the bike lanes from drivers. And that would make it impossible to stop in the bike lanes. And cyclists say it's necessary and make them safer. It would really help to enforce this new law. Robert from Spruce Hill, who's a regular listener, CityCast Philly, shout out to Robert. He wrote in to correct something that he said Leo Levinson from the Center City Residents Association got wrong. Leo had said that these concrete barriers would not have prevented the death of Barbara Freitas, the cyclist and pediatric doctor who was killed by a car at 18th and Spruce back in July. Leo had told Trenae that Barbara was struck in the intersection where a concrete barrier wouldn't have been. But on Robert's suggestion, I went back and looked at the video of the incident, and sure enough, the driver did swerve first into a bike lane before he did hit her in the intersection. So in that case, maybe a protected bike lane could have prevented that tragedy. So a lot of different ways to view this issue, and we really appreciate our listeners for writing in, letting us know what you think. We're at philly@citycast.fm, and you can give us a call, leave us a voicemail, or send us a text.
Yeah, for sure. Let us know what you guys think about this issue. Give us a call, 215-259-8170. All right, what's everyone's plans for the weekend?
I'm actually going to go talk about CityCast Philly at Breakthrough Philadelphia. It's a Saturday and summer enrichment and mentorship program for underserved middle school students over in Germantown. And I'm going in to talk about what we do here. There's part of their program is to bring in professionals and describe their jobs and whatnot, and give these kids an idea about what sort of opportunities might be available to them after school. So I'm doing that on Saturday. And beyond that, it's Rec League basketball playoffs this weekend. Oh. And my son's Bruins are undefeated this season. So we have the playoffs coming up this weekend. So we'll be doing that. Shout out to the Philly Dragons. That's our Rec League. And to all the volunteer coaches and commissioners and all of the rec leagues throughout this city. Really appreciate the time and effort you guys put in as everybody kind of wraps up the basketball season and heads to baseball and other spring sports.
Awesome.
Abby, what are you doing?
Well, I'm doing boring stuff this weekend. I am moving furniture around in my house, but I have a suggestion. I just did this on Thursday. I went to Kira Revolving Sushi Bar.
Love that place.
Okay, yeah, I had never been. It opened at the end of 2022, and it's in Center City.
Is this the one with the robot?
Yes, it's the one with the robot. It is so cool. I went with a couple of friends, and it was such it was like gamified eating, kind of.
Yes,
they have this conveyor belt that goes around the entire dining area, and you can just pick up sushi as it comes by. All of the plates are $3.95 for what's on it. And then they have a couple that are like more expensive and they're marked appropriately. But pretty much all of them are $3.95. And then they have this little slot where you like put the plates into and it counts how many plates you put through. So that's how you get charged.
Oh.
And so I went with, our whole group was 4 people. And you get like little prizes the more you eat. So when we got to 15 plates, a little toy drops down. There's like a little like keychain Lego thing.
My kids love that part of the whole experience.
I literally was like so excited. I was giddy when it dropped down. It was so funny.
And then there's robots that also bring you drinks.
Yes. They will bring you water. They won't bring any alcohol or like bottled drinks, but they will bring you your water, which was really cool. So it was just like such a fun, like I was so visually stimulated all the time. And like they definitely get you with just like being able to just like grab what you want as it comes by. You can also like order food and it's like there's 2 conveyor belts. There's a second conveyor belt and like the food that you order will like shoot to like your table. It like comes by really fast and you see other people's food going by. It was just so fun. I really enjoyed it. And then afterwards they have a little like I don't know if they call it an arcade, but it's just like those claw machine games with a bunch of like little keychains and stuffed animals and toys. So we went and spent money on both floors. They got us. It was really fun.
Wow, you did this last weekend?
I did this.
Oh, this week. I'm sorry.
I did this on Thursday. Yeah. It was cute. It was a nice little dinner with friends.
And the sushi's good. It's like good.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good.
Yeah, it's like quality. It's not, the food is not gimmicky. It is delicious.
It's really good. Yeah.
Well, I had sushi like without the technology at Fat Salmon last weekend.
Oh, nice.
And that was my first time being there. It's on Walnut Street, right across from Washington Square Park. And my sushi was served in a giant boat.
Whoa.
So that was
fun.
Appealing. I didn't get a prize, but I went to Barcade in Center City afterwards.
Oh, nice.
So that was cool.
Fun. Are you doing anything else this weekend, Trenae?
I've got dinner plans on Saturday, but then at some point in this weekend, I want to get cozy and watch the new docuseries Spirit on Xfinity. This is a 4-part series about Philly's own George Washington High School's co-ed cheer team. And so they compete at the district level, state level, and then they're trying to compete for the title at the National Cheerleaders Association High School Nationals. I know there's a lot nationals in there, but this group, they're known as G-Dub. And so we're going to get to watch this all unfold. I like to see kids like just shooting big for their dreams.
This sounds like it'll be great to watch with the kids too. And isn't your daughter does she cheer?
She used to cheer. She was a national champion, but she didn't. They didn't compete at this competition.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, we've got a busy weekend. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Abby.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Trenae.
Thanks, guys.
That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. Our executive producer is Matt Katz. Our producer is Abby Fritz. Our Hey Philly newsletter editor is Siani Colon. And our host is me, Trenae Nuri. Music is brought to you by Philly's own Interminable, with additional music from all the kimonos. If you enjoyed this week of episodes, please tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our morning newsletter, Hey Philly. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Have a great weekend and be safe, y'all. Bye.